At open, Anton Turkalj was like a plus 115 underdog or something like that, plus 125 underdog. People laid some juice on him. Quickly, the line turned to where he's a slight favorite. So as it stands right now, currently, these are accurate odds. Minus 115 Turkalj, minus 105 for Pedro. A lot of people are saying, let me throw some juice on Turkalj, but I see that the fans, the casuals, and everybody in between, right? Everybody who's just kind of watching, they really like Pedro, and they think that he's gonna get Turkalj out of there, first round KO, which is totally possible. I want your take on that, though.
First round KO out of Tyson Pedro, very possible, Derek. Very, very possible for this one. And I like what you're saying about Tyson Pedro. Very technical, and what I like about him, he's sneaky, well-rounded. He does have a fully developed game that not a lot of people give him credit for. But you're right, that gas tank needs some work, brother. It's probably one of the only reasons he lost that Modestas Bukauskas fight. Is Bukauskas really started to take over later in the rounds. I can actually see Turkalj doing that exact same thing, and I think that's why we're split on this fight right here, choosing different sides. Because there is a world where Turkalj goes in, puts it on Tyson Pedro, controls the distance, maintains the range, all the stuff we like to see, has a beautiful technical performance, and I do think he's technically the more proficient fighter in this one. That's definitely a possibility. So, folks, if you're out there, if you're a casual fan or you're a diehard, do you think this is Tyson Pedro all day long? You might want to hold off on placing some money there. Even me, I have a lot of hesitation betting on Tyson Pedro for this fight because, yeah, he could get the knockout. That's a 100% possibility, but I think it's more likely that this one goes past the second round, and then we start to see how the games develop after that one. Would you agree with me, Derek? You think it's more likely for this to go the distance, or is this one ending in a knockout?
The distance is something that I'm not too sure about, but somewhere in between post first round and like 15 minutes, like I think we're somewhere in that range. And the reason why is because you're right. Tyson Pedro, sneaky grappler, right? He could drop and jump a guillotine on you. He can go and try to choke you, whatever the case may be, even a sneaky takedown, right? But Anton Turkalj, for those who are uninitiated, is a different level of grappler. This dude is a tried and true, legitimate grappler. He had a grappling match with Alexander Gustafsson. That's the level of grappling that we're talking about here. Tyson Pedro, on the other hand, man, I think that he has the skill set to capitalize on the big mistakes that Turkalj makes pretty often. And he did it against Vitor Petrino, and he just keeps his head on that center line, man. And it's just there. And he's getting rocked and dropped and fall into his butt in the guard. And you got to hope that you have a referee who's not going to wave it off too soon, because I do see Pedro hurting Turkalj multiple times in this fight. The question is, what happens when you can't put him away? And I think Turkalj, given that your two first fights in the UFC, man, Jailton Almeida, Petrino, this dude is going to put it on Tyson Pedro in a nasty way, especially if Pedro starts to wane in terms of his gas tank. So that's how I see it. That's the reason I'm on Turkalj. I want one last point, and I want you to give me your assessment on this. I'm very much of the belief that in this what have you done for me lately sport, you cannot discount phenomenal talents like Turkalj. I know he's a brash personality. He's the pleasure man. People are divided. This dude is good, though. You lost 2 fights against 2 really good guys. Why are people ruling him out like he's about to get smashed here?
I think the only reason people are ruling him out, Derek, you go back and you looked at that Vitor Petrino fight, he's getting rocked. Turkalj is getting rocked left and right, man. And even especially when he does, he throws his hands up and just tries to grab on. And that right there, with the kind of striker that Tyson Pedro presents, does give a lot of worry, man. A lot of worry. But you're right. In those fights, Turkalj wasn't finished. Well, he was finished by Jailton Almeida, but that was because of a submission, not because of the lack of chin. And Turkalj, you got to give him that. This boy can survive a wallop and make the best out of that wallop situation. I mean, even though he dropped his last 2, like I said, he didn't get knocked out. And that right there speaks volumes to the kind of fighter and character that Turkalj presents, because this is going to be, I expect a lot of wobbly legs, Derek. I expect a lot of backs to be hitting the mat. But you're right. I'm hoping for that referee that's going to let them continue a little bit further and actually, work in those exchanges. But I can see why the bettors are really a little stressed or a little worried about putting their money on Turkalj, just because he leaves himself open all the time.
And when I was looking at some wagers just to kind of take a look at this fight a little deeper, because I didn't like the odds either way, it's pretty much pick 'em. So I was like, okay, what juice can we get out of this? This fight is at 2.5 rounds. The over is plus 180. So I was like, okay, maybe the over 2.5 rounds could be one. Fight to go to the distance is like plus 300. So it's like, man, it's the difference of fucking a minute or 2 or something like that. I don't know, something crazy like that. So it's not a stay away here. You can definitely cash in big if you won't go on either one of these sides, especially if you like hit a prop. Tyson Pedro plus 300 TKO, sprinkle that. I don't care who you're betting for, sprinkle it. Anton Turkalj, my prop lock of the week, folks, plus +400 decision. I do believe Tyson Pedro has enough gall within him to avoid getting submitted, even though it's going to be a big threat by Turkalj. And I think that it's a battle of Turkalj getting rocked, getting control time over Pedro, and then doing enough in rounds 2 and 3 to get the victory. Give me the +400 decision prop for Anton Turkalj, the pleasure man. We're looking for a bounce back. And AJ, don't forget, you're the guy who always says it. 2-0 in the UFC, your back is up against the wall. You better get a win this go around, right?
You got to be hungry, folks, and there's no one hungrier than when your plate is empty. You got the guy staring down from you, and you might be facing the axe from Uncle Dana. I expect Turkalj to come out hot, Derek. I actually really like, if I'm betting on the Turkalj side, I really like that +400 decision. I do think there's a lot of value there, but I'm on the other side of the coin, brother. I'm going Tyson Pedro, and I am taking that +300 TKO. I think it's his best route to victory. Either way, though, I do think there's a reason this fight is slated at the front of the line. It's going to be a lot of fun.